Hello. For today, I would like to share with you some tips and tricks on paying off your debt and trying to save money. Among other things, I used to work for the county public assistance program, and before that, worked for a tax return agency. And what can I say? I love to play with numbers, and so these are things that I've learned over the years through my job experience. I had a friend come to me with 3 bags full of papers. And in these bags, there were past due bills, there were credit card statements, buy here, pay here, paperwork, all sorts of different things, medical papers, past due bills, all sorts of things. And he did not have any clue how much money was coming in. Well, he knew how much he was making per week, but he didn't have a budget. He did not even know how to balance a checkbook. And he gave me these 3 bags for me to organize the paperwork and try to help him set his financial life straight. And so with that, that's what inspired me to make this video, and hopefully I can help others with their financial freedom as well. And so for the first tip, this is kind of unconventional. If you watch anything like Dave Ramsey or any other financial advice gurus, then this is definitely unconventional. But my first recommendation, and the reason why I'm making this the first one, is because of the process time it takes to apply. I used to work for the county public assistance program, so I am familiar with this process. But my first suggestion is to see if your family qualifies for public assistance. I know there's a stigma that might go with applying for public assistance, but there are various forms, and if your family qualifies, apply for it. It's meant to be there as an assistance program. However, I will say, if you do apply and qualify for an assistance program, don't stay on it forever. Use this as a temporary crutch to get you over the hump to then better your life, your financial goals, your financial freedom, and then be able to then step away from the public assistance. In 2021, the federal poverty level for a family of 4 was $26,500. Now, to apply for public assistance, this might depend on which state you live in, if you live in the lower 48 versus Alaska or Hawaii, but it also depends on which program you're applying for. If you're applying for food stamps, Medicaid, WIC, which is Women, Infant, and Children, and with that, it's children under the age of 5. If you are applying for Medicaid, again, this depends on which state you live in. Some might allow children under the age of 18 to apply for the Medicaid as long as your family is under 200% of that federal poverty level. Then some might stipulate that you must be under 185% of that federal poverty level. In 2021, 185% of the federal poverty level for a family of 4 was $49,025. So if your family in 2021 made an annual income under $49,025 and you're a family of 4, then you could qualify for some of these assistance programs. And depending, like I said, depending on the state you live in, the children might be able to qualify for Medicaid if your family makes under 200%. 200% of the federal poverty level in 2021 was $53,000 for a family of 4. Applications usually take at least 30 days to process. That's why I said to do this first. If your family qualifies, if you have a family to qualify, if you're interested in doing this, if not, feel free to go on to number 2. So my second piece of advice is to follow Dave Ramsey's baby step number 1 and save $1,000. You need an emergency fund. Remember how I said my friend came to me with 3 bags full of just papers and he didn't know how to balance a checkbook or anything? Well, I went through, I organized all of the paperwork, and for Dave Ramsey's baby step number 2 is paying off all debt. And you want to use a snowball effect with this. This means you want to pay the smallest debt first and then work your way up. Another way to do it would be, I believe it's called avalanche effect, and that's where you find the bill that has the highest interest rate and you pay the highest interest rate first, or it could be the most amount first and then work your way down. But I find that there's a simple pleasure in paying off the small bills first, and then there's less to worry about later. And so where I went through my friend's bills, I organized everything and what was past due, what was current, what was irrelevant paperwork. He had paperwork from an apartment he no longer had. He did not need that lease paperwork anymore because he wasn't living there. And so I organized everything and helped him to learn how to balance a checkbook and how to pay off his bills. For example, he had one bill for $16. Pay it and be done with it. Now, if you're wondering where to come up with this extra money to pay off your debt, this is where I suggest, number 3, to be frugal and minimize. By being frugal, only pay for what you need. Maybe sit there and wait 24 hours before making a purchase. See if you really need this item or do you want this item. If it's food, for example, do you need the name brand item or can you go with the generic store brand item? It might be the same thing, but do you really need the name brand when you can afford the generic? And I guess with minimizing, I would actually label that as my number 4 suggestion, and that is to minimize. And with minimizing, go through everything. Use the KonMari method if you need to, but go through each room and figure out what do you need and what do you not need. Do you have children who are older and yet you still have their baby saucer? Find places that are secondhand stores. There, at least where I live, there are a variety of options. So if you have sports equipment that you haven't used in a few years, you may never use again, like for example, skis. When was the last time you skied? There's a secondhand store that buys gently used sporting equipment. If you have children, like I said, that have grown up and you still have some of their baby stuff, take it to a secondhand store that focuses on children's stuff. You might be able to sell stuff there. So sporting equipment, if you can find a secondhand store that sells books or DVDs. If you have a video game system you no longer use, try GameStop. Sell off whatever you are no longer using, you no longer have a need for, and that's a quick way to make some money. Another suggestion for selling, and this might depend on where you live, but you could always try selling your blood. Depending on where you live, some places might only allow you to donate blood, and then after you donate blood a certain amount of times, then you might receive a gift card in exchange for having donated blood. Others might pay you for the blood directly. That's something to look into. My number 5 suggestion is simply don't buy stuff. This is actually going to be one of my goals for the month of January, is I am only going to buy what we absolutely need, and that will probably consist of just milk, eggs, and bread. I have already stocked up on food, so my family should be good for a month. And since we just had Christmas, I think my kids are good to go on toys, and there's not really anything we need. So, I mean, unless some emergency thing happens, let it snowball. Maybe start out with a day, and then a weekend, and then a week, and see how long you can go without buying anything. And then if you have to buy it, sit there and question, do you really need it or do you only want it? And this will help you save what money you have from your income or whatever. If you do need to buy something, then my next suggestion is shop around. Check out the prices. Most places have their prices listed online And so you can shop around online before you even go to the store. Say, for example, it is a gallon of milk. You need to buy a gallon of milk. How much will it cost at this grocery store versus this grocery store versus maybe this gas station versus wherever? And look around. This grocery store over here might actually be having a sale, whereas this one may not be, and they might be charging 10 or 20 cents more per gallon. But also with that, make sure you also check the distance, because if this store over here that has it on sale, but they're 15 minutes away, then that's even further that you have to drive, and you've wasted that much, if not more, in gas driving there. So definitely weigh the pros and cons with that. But shop around, look for the sale. If you have coupons, look for coupons. A lot of stores now have rewards programs, so sign up for the rewards program. Click on the online coupons to save onto the rewards card. Make your dollars stretch as much as possible. My last suggestion is to find other ways to make an extra income. You can visit websites like TaskRabbit. You can offer to mow lawns. You could offer to babysit. There are many ways to try to earn extra income. So with your extra income, once you've minimized your stuff, you've sold in everything that you don't need, you have saved money from grocery shopping, and you're babysitting now or whatever to bring in that extra bit of money, organize your bills, pay off all of your debts. And I am including if you have car loan, credit cards, student loans, anything that is a debt, pay it off. If you happen to own a house, have that be the last debt you pay off. Pay off everything first before worrying about the mortgage. The mortgage, at least make the monthly payment. If you can afford to put a little bit more towards the principal, that's always good, because then that's less interest you pay in the long run. But pay off the credit cards first. They typically have a higher interest rate than your mortgage. One suggestion I will make that definitely goes against what Dave Ramsey recommends, and if you follow his baby steps, after you've paid off all your debt and then you've saved for 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund, then he suggests putting 15% of your income into retirement. However, I like to, as an early thing, I like to change this up. If you have an employer who is going to match your money, for example, if you put in even just $5 and then they're going to match your $5 while you are paying off your debt, look at what you can afford. If you can afford to set aside $5 per paycheck, yes, that is small, that is minimal at best, but even just putting $5 aside and knowing that your employer is matching that money, then you could already be starting to save up for your retirement and have that investment for later on. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please follow the links on the left-hand side to watch more of my videos. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comments below. Please select thumbs up that you like the video. And as always, please subscribe to be updated when new videos come out.